Let's dive back into Middle-earth and build one of the members of the Fellowship of the Ring in Dungeons & Dragons. Because sometimes you want to say, "and my axe," as many times as possible in a D&D session. Because we're going to be building one of our favorite dwarves, Gimli, as a playable character. Let's go ahead and start with the species because that part's pretty easy. We're gonna go with the dwarf. There's a few differences between the old dwarf from 2014 and the new one from 2024. The older version did have the ability to wear heavier armor without any setbacks, meaning that you can focus on different ability scores other than strength, but I don't think we really need that for Gimli. So we're gonna go with the newer 2024 version. So we have the feature Dwarven Resilience, so you have resistance to poison damage just in case you want to pound an incredible amount of ale and show that puny elf what drinking is all about. And this feature also gives you advantage on saving throws against becoming poisoned or ending the poisoned condition. You also get the feature Dwarven Toughness, so your hit point maximum is increased by 1 point for each level of your character. You get the feature Stone Cunning, which is a great new addition in 2024 because the older version was a little too vague, but this allows you to use your bonus action to gain Tremor Sense, so you can basically see through the vibrations in the ground for 60 feet in every direction for 10 minutes. But you must be on a stone surface or touching a stone surface to use this tremor sense. Then when it comes to a background, you are Gimli, son of Gloin. You actually have a noble background, but you aren't a member of the royal line yourself. In the Lord of the Rings, you joined the Fellowship partially because Legolas had volunteered and you doubted the elf's intentions, but you're also stepping up to do your duty. Frankly, we have a lot of options because of all this for our background. I kind of wanted to go with Guard because you're guarding Frodo and helping him make his way to Mount Doom, but in 2024 that comes with the feat Alert, and it's pretty easy to sneak up on Gimli, so I'm not going to go with that one. Due to your ties to a royal family, despite not being a royal member yourself, I was tempted to go with Noble, especially since after The Lord of the Rings, and after the war at Helm's Deep and everything else, Gimli becomes the first Lord of the Glittering Caves. But Gimli is very well trained, especially with axes, and he definitely wants to show up Legolas in every battle, so I think going with a bit more battle-focused background is a bit more fitting. So we're going to go with Soldier. This gives us skill proficiencies in athletics and intimidation. It gives us the Savage Attacker feat. So once per turn when you hit a target with a weapon, you can roll the weapon's damage dice twice and use either roll against the target. And certain axes, especially using a great axe, this can be super helpful because great axes roll a d12, the largest damage dice in Dungeons & Dragons. And if you're just rolling one d12, that is a huge range to deal with. You could roll really well or really terribly. But cutting those odds in half by rolling 2 damage dice and just seeing which one does better is very, very helpful. Then when it comes to the ability scores, we're going to have a point spread that looks like this, really focusing on strength and constitution. Your dwarven body isn't particularly dexterous, so I dumped that score. Gimli is actually known for being pretty smart, so I'm going to boost up that intelligence. And in the end, I find him pretty lovable, so we're going to boost up the charisma with the majority of the rest of our points. Then when it comes to a starting class, I was very, very tempted to go with a barbarian. He can be a little grumpy at times and runs in screaming. It feels very barbarian-esque, but I dove a little deeper into the types of things that Gimli is wearing, and he's usually wearing ringmail or chainmail in most battles. And that is heavy armor. And because of this, I can't go with a barbarian because barbarians basically don't get any of their features if they're wearing heavy armor. And Gimli is pretty darn good with his axes. He is very talented with them. He is known to be a master combatant, so we're gonna go with a fighter. This gives us skill proficiencies in 2 skills, so we're gonna grab history because you are pretty aware of your own culture's history, and we're gonna grab perception even though people do have a tendency to sneak up on you, at least when it comes to those pesky elves. Then at first level of fighter, you get to choose a fighting style, and I'm pretty torn here as well because there's a lot of great options. You know how to use throwing axes, and thrown weapon fighting is an option, but that's more of a rare occurrence. Great weapon fighting could be helpful because it makes it so you can't roll a 1 or a 2 on your damage die. Your new minimum is a 3, but you already have Savage Attacker, so you don't really need that as much. So if you're trying to stay true to character, and you want to stick with wearing ringmail or chainmail, which is heavy armor, that means at most your armor class is going to be a 16. If you upgraded to plate later, you would get up to 18 armor class. But if you're a huge Lord of the Rings fan, sometimes you just really want to stick with what's true to character. So in order to help out our armor class while still staying true, we're going to go with the defense fighting style, boosting up our armor class by +1, even if we're still sticking with chainmail. Then also at first level of fighter, you get second wind. So as a bonus action, you can regain hit points equal to 1d10 plus your fighter level. You can use this feature twice and regain 1 expended use on a short rest, or regain all uses when you finish a long rest. And at certain fighter levels, you get more and more uses of second wind as you level up. This is a great improvement in the 2024 version. And Gimli, throughout the Lord of the Rings series, is known to have impressive stamina and be very hardy, so having second wind as a feature is very fitting. Then the last feature you get at first level of fighter is weapon mastery. You can choose 3 weapons to have mastery with, but we're going to choose all axes. Starting with a great axe, you get the feature cleave, so if you hit a creature with a melee attack, you can actually swing through that creature and hit another creature within 5 feet of the first creature. But the second creature that is hit only takes the base damage from the great axe, that D12. You don't get to add your ability modifier to the damage, and you can only use this cleave feature once per turn. Then we need a slightly smaller axe with a battle axe, which gives you the feature topple, so if you hit a creature with your battle axe, you can force them to make a constitution saving throw or be knocked prone. And then finally, you need a smaller axe to be able to throw or just wield in one hand, so we're going to grab a hand axe, which gives us the feature Vex. So if you hit a creature with your hand axe and deal damage to that creature, you have advantage on your next attack roll against that creature before the end of your next turn. At second level of fighter, you get action surge, so you can take 2 actions in a single turn, once per short or long rest. But if you get all the way to 17th level, you can use this feature twice per short or long rest. The other feature you get at second level is tactical mind. So if you fail an ability check, you can expend one of your uses of second wind to push yourself towards success. Rather than regaining some hit points, you can roll a d10 and add that number to the ability check, potentially turning it into a success. But if the check still fails, you don't use up that second wind. At third level of fighter, you can choose a fighter subclass. And there's 2 great options here. We gotta go with either Battle Master or Champion. Battle Master is all about getting special battle tactics that you can use to do tricky things and tricky maneuvers in battle, but that seems like more of an elf thing. And Gimli is just really good at being able to attack his enemies full force and charge in. I wasn't able to choose Barbarian to start, but it will help guide my choice here. Despite the fact that he's known as a master combatant, I think Champion fits better, because I also consider him a champion of the dwarves in helping Frodo in the Lord of the Rings series. Choosing the champion subclass for fighter gives you the feature improved critical, so your attacks with weapons and unarmed strikes can score critical hits on 19s or 20s instead of just relying on rolling a nat 20. Additionally, you get the feature remarkable athlete. So thanks to your athleticism, you have advantage on initiative rolls and strength athletics checks. Just don't use that feature when it comes to making long jumps, because we all know you need a little help there. Additionally, thanks to Remarkable Athlete, immediately after you score a critical hit, you can move up to half your speed without provoking opportunity attacks. And one thing I forgot to mention, dwarves in 2024 have a movement speed of 30 feet. I always got very frustrated when I used the 2014 version of dwarf because I was 5 feet slower than everybody else, and having slightly slower movement speed is insanely frustrating when you need to charge into battle. Fourth level of fighter gives us another weapon mastery, but we have all our axes covered, so we don't really care about that, and we get an ability score improvement. And I know we're using a variety of different axes, but it's kind of best to go with a great axe whenever possible, and I want to boost that up a bit, especially since we have an odd number in strength. So we're going to grab Great Weapon Master. The 2024 version of Great Weapon Master did get smoothed out a bit. It now increases your strength by 1 point, gives you the feature Heavy Weapon Mastery, so when you hit a creature with a weapon that has the heavy property as part of the attack action on your turn, you can cause the weapon to deal extra damage to the target, equal to your proficiency bonus. It used to be that it gave you a plus 10 to the damage, but it reduced your accuracy by 5, which was a pretty massive trade-off, especially at early levels, but this at least feels a little better as far as scaling and not being too overpowered. Additionally, you get the feature Hew, so immediately after you score a critical hit with a melee weapon or reduce a creature to 0 hit points with one, you can make one attack with the same weapon as a bonus action. And remember, your crit range has been doubled because you are a champion fighter. So Gimli is twice as likely to be able to use this feature, and it doesn't just apply to heavy weapons. It's any melee weapon. So if you're using a battle axe or a hand axe, this will still apply. Then at 5th level of fighter, you get tactical shift. So whenever you use your second wind with a bonus action, you can move up to half your speed without provoking an opportunity attack. Also, you get the feature extra attack. So now you can attack twice per action. Then at 6th level of fighter, you get another ability score improvement because fighters get more ability score improvements than any other class in D&D. And I really want to focus on using axes, and every axe in D&D does slashing damage. So we're going to take the feat Slasher. This boosts up our strength or dexterity by 1 point. We're going to go ahead and boost up our strength again. And it gives us the feature Hamstring. So once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack that deals slashing damage, you can reduce the speed of that creature by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. Additionally, you get the feature Enhanced Critical, and remember, you are twice as likely to get critical hits than anybody else. So, when you score a critical hit that deals slashing damage to a creature, it then has disadvantage on attack rolls until the start of your next turn. 7th level of fighter, thanks to being a champion, gives us another fighting style. And I still don't want to go with Great Weapon Master, but you have an entire fellowship to help fight alongside you, and you want to make sure that they don't get hurt whenever possible. So since we're not wielding a shield, we can't use the protection fighting style, but we can still use interception. This makes it so when a creature you can see hits another creature within 5 feet of you with an attack, you can use your reaction to reduce the damage dealt to the target by 1d10 plus your proficiency bonus. The only requirement is that you're holding a shield or a simple or martial weapon to use this reaction. Then at 8th level of fighter, you get another ability score improvement. And I want to make sure that you're able to win that little competitive streak that you have with Legolas. And the biggest problem you can run into when it comes to cutting down Urukai or orcs or any creatures that you're going up against is that they might try to run away when they realize you are way too good with your axe. So we're going to take another feat and we're going to go with Sentinel. This allows us to boost our strength score by 1 more point, and we get 2 more features. So we get the feature Guardian. So immediately after a creature within 5 feet of you takes the disengage action or hits a target other than you with an attack, you can make an opportunity attack against the creature, just increasing the odds that you might get 1 more attack in. And we want to make sure they don't get away, because you got to make sure you take out more enemies than that silly little elf. So you also get the feature Halt. So when you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, the creature's speed becomes 0 for the rest of the turn. Then at 9th level of fighter, you get Tactical Master. So when you attack with a weapon whose mastery property you can use, you can replace that property with Push, Sap, or Slow, just giving a bit more versatility. Additionally, you get the feature Indomitable. So if you fail a saving throw, you can re-roll it with a bonus equal to your fighter level. You must use the new roll, and you can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest. You can use this feature twice per long rest starting at 13th level and 3 times per long rest at 17th level. 10th level of fighter gives you another weapon mastery, but again, we got all our axes so we don't care. And you get the feature Heroic Warrior from being a champion. So the thrill of battle drives you towards victory. And during combat, you can give yourself a heroic inspiration whenever you start your turn without it, meaning that you always have advantage on at least 1 attack throughout your battle. Or you could be a little more lame and save that heroic inspiration for another d20 roll not in battle. But if you're rolling as Gimli, that's probably not what you're going to use it for. At 11th level of fighter, you get 2 extra attacks, so now you can attack 3 times per attack action. At 12th level of fighter, you get another ability score improvement, and I'm going to go ahead and take the feat tough, just so you can get an extra 2 hit points of health per level of this overall build. It'll help a bit more than boosting up your constitution score would. 13th level fighter gives you studied attacks, so if you make an attack roll against a creature and miss, you have advantage on your next attack roll against the creature before the end of your next turn. Basically, there's a bunch of ways to get advantage through this build, and you have so many bonuses to critically striking, so overall you have a great chance to crit and lots of great things happen when you do crit. 14th level fighter gives you yet again another ability score improvement, so let's go ahead and boost up your constitution by 2 points. 15th level of being a champion fighter gives you superior critical, so now your attack rolls with weapons and unarmed strikes can score critical hits on 18, 19, or 20 on a roll of that d20 dice, meaning you have a 15% chance to critically strike on any standard roll. You have a pretty high likelihood of having advantage on at least one of those rolls, and overall you have more attacks than most people, so you're pretty likely to score a crit on most turns. And don't forget that if you crit, you get another attack as your bonus action. At 16th level of fighter, you get another ability score improvement, so let's go ahead and boost up your constitution by 2 more points. 17th level of fighter gives you more uses of some of your features, and then at 18th level of fighter, thanks to being a champion, you get survivor, which grants 2 features. So you get Death Defy, giving you advantage on death saving throws, and when you roll an 18, 19, or 20 on a death saving throw, you gain the same benefit as if you rolled a 20 on it, which means that you return to 1 health and you are back to being back in the fight. But Survivor also gives you the feature Heroic Rally. So at the start of each of your turns, you regain hit points equal to 5 plus your Constitution modifier if you are considered bloodied and have at least 1 hit point. And bloodied is what's referred to as you having half of your hit points or fewer. So you are super resilient in battle. 19th level of fighter gives us another ability score improvement, but because it's 19th level, we get to choose an epic boon, and you are super hardy, so we're going to go with the Boon of Fortitude. This allows us to increase 1 ability score by 1 point. We only have 1 score that's an odd number, so let's just go with Wisdom, and this gives us the feature Fortified Health, so your hit point maximum is increased by 40 points. In addition, when you regain hit points, you can regain additional hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. You can only use that part of the feature once per turn, but thanks to their Survivor feature that you got at 18th level, Heroic Rally, if you are at less than half of your hit points, you are now regaining 5 plus your Constitution modifier, plus your Constitution modifier again, thanks to this epic boon, so you can regain 15 health at the start of each of your turns if you are less than half health. So you are just constantly regenerating. Then at 20th level of fighter, you get 3 extra attacks, meaning that you get a total of 4 attacks per attack action. You have about a 15% chance to crit on every one of those attacks. Not to mention, you are more than likely able to have advantage on at least 1 or more of those attacks. So it is more than likely that you are going to crit, giving you a bonus action attack, bringing you to 5 attacks in a turn, and you might be able to get 1 more thanks to Sentinel, getting an opportunity attack as your reaction. But that brings you all the way to max level, and at max level, because of the tough feat, the max out Constitution score, the fact that you're a dwarf, and the epic boon of Fortitude, you have a total hit point maximum of 324 points, which is absolutely insane. And that means that Gimli is definitely making it to the end of the Lord of the Rings trilogy without any trouble. But that's how I would build Gimli from Lord of the Rings in Dungeons & Dragons. Obviously, you can port this back to pure 5th edition instead of 5.24 as people are calling it, and it would be a pretty similar build. But overall, I like how this turned out. I wanted to build 1 more Lord of the Rings character because I've been really in a Lord of the Rings mood lately. Although I can't really bring myself to go back to reading the books because every time I get to Tom Bombadil, I want to pull my hair out. Let me know what you think about this build in the comments down below. And if you want access to the character sheet, it's linked in the description and the comments as well. If you made it all the way to the end of this build, let me know by hitting that like button, and I'll be here hoping to roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session.